In a quiet suburban neighborhood, John Wayne Gacy was a man of two faces. To the world, he was a friendly clown, but beneath the facade lay a predator of unspeakable evil. Born on March 17, 1942, Gacy terrorized a Chicago suburb, luring young men into his home under the pretext of magic tricks, subjecting them to horrors beyond imagination. This is the chilling story of Gacy's dual identity, a sinister clown who made the world laugh and a malevolent force that left a trail of unimaginable atrocities. Join us on this journey into darkness, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more chilling tales. Gacy's dark journey began in a turbulent childhood, marked by abuse and neglect from his alcoholic father. He craved his father's approval but received only disdain. These early scars left a deep void within him, a void he did later try to fill with unspeakable facts. Fast forward towards his teen's life. In 1960, at the age of 18, Gacy ventured into the world of politics, working as an assistant precinct captain for a local Democratic Party candidate despite his father's disapproval. This choice strained his relationship with his family, but he remained committed to his political pursuits. Homosexual experiments. In April of 1962, frustrated by his father's control, Gacy left home and embarked on a journey to Las Vegas, Nevada. In his journey, Gacy briefly worked for the city's ambulance service and then at Palm Mortuary as a mortuary attendant for 3 months. During this time, he observed embalming procedures and sometimes served as a pallbearer. He slept in a cot behind the embalming room. He later admitted to a disturbing incident where he entered the coffin of a deceased teenage male, embracing and caressing the body before feeling a profound shock. This experience led him to leave his job and return home. Upon his return, Gacy enrolled at Northwestern Business College, eventually graduating in 1963. He secured a management trainee position with the Nunn-Bush Shoe Company in 1964 and later became a department manager. During his period, he also joined the local JCs and had his second homosexual experience. According to Gacy, a JC's colleague gave him drinks and then performed oral sex on him while he was drunk. Gacy's disturbing double life in Waterloo. In 1964, he married Marilyn Myers and together they moved to Waterloo, Iowa, where Gacy managed to chain a Kentucky Fried Kitchen restaurant and offered his employees, mostly teenagers, a basement club with alcohol and pool. However, behind the scenes of their seemingly normal life, a disturbing reality lurked in the club. He socialized mainly with young men and often gave them alcohol before making sexual advances. If rejected, he'd pass it off as a joke or a moral test. As time passed, Gacy's stature in the community grew. By 1965, Gacy had become the vice president of the Springfield JCs and was recognized as the third most outstanding JC in Illinois. Despite outward appearances of success, Gacy's darker desires began to emerge. In August of 1967, Gacy committed a serious offense. He sexually assaulted a 15-year-old boy, marking the beginning of a series of horrifying events that would ultimately lead to his arrest and imprisonment. Sexually assaulted the 15-year-old boy. Gacy sexually assaulted Donald Voorhees Jr., luring him with the promise of showing him explicit films. He piled Voorhees with alcohol and engaged in sexual acts. Over the following months, Gacy abused several other youths, sometimes tricking them into believing he was conducting scientific experiments. In March 1968, Voorhees told his father, who reported it to the police. Gacy was arrested and charged with sexual assault and sentenced to 10 years in prison. His wife filed for divorce and he never saw this family again. However, Gacy again married Carol Hoff in 1972, but their relationship deteriorated again when he revealed his bisexuality. After his release, on June 18, 1970, John Wayne Gacy was granted parole after serving just 18 months of his 10-year prison sentence. Within 24 hours of his release, Gacy found work as a short-order cook. In 1971, he faced charges of sexually assaulting a teenage boy, but the case was dismissed when the boy failed to appear. Later that year, he was arrested and charged with aggravated sexual battery and reckless conduct, but these charges were dropped when the complaint attempted to blackmail Gacy. The Iowa Board of Parole was unaware of these incidents and his parole ended in October of 1971 with his criminal convictions in Iowa sealed a month later. With financial help from his mother, Gacy purchased a house at 8213 West Somerdale Avenue in Norwood Park Township, where he would later commit his murders. He was active in the community and hosted annual parties attended by hundreds. Rape attempts and construction business. In 1971, Gacy founded PDM Contractors, a part-time construction business. By 1975, PDM was flourishing and Gacy found himself working tirelessly, often up to 16 hours a day. Gacy's workforce primarily comprised high school students and a young man, but behind his seemingly successful business lay a disturbing reality. He frequently made sexual advances towards his employees, using promises of vehicle loans, financial assistance, or promotions as coercive tools. He also boasted about owning firearms and even threatened an employee with violence, creating an unsettling atmosphere within the company. In 1973, Gacy raped a teenage employee in Florida, leading to a retaliatory attack. In May of 1975, he assaulted a 15-year-old Anthony Antonioni in his home, who managed to escape but continued working for Gacy for 9 months. On July 25, 1976, Gacy offered 18-year-old David Cram a job and later attempted to rape him. Cram escaped. Another employee, 18-year-old Michael Rossi, briefly lived with Gacy and sometimes joined him as a clown at events. Killer Clown. In late 1975, John Wayne Gacy, while leading a double life, also worked as a clown. He joined a local Jolly Joker clown club, creating his own characters, Pogo the Clown and Patches the Clown. Gacy performed at parties, events, and children's hospitals, gaining recognition as the Killer Clown due to the stark contrast between his public clown persona and his gruesome crimes. This dual life added to the eerie intrigue surrounding his case. Murders. John Wayne Gacy committed at least 33 murders and 26 of his victims buried in the crawl space of his house. He targeted young men and boys, often luring them with the promise of jobs, drinks, drugs, or money for sex. Some victims were grabbed by force, while others were deceived into thinking Gacy was a policeman due to his badge and spotlights on his car. Inside his home, Gacy would gain his victims' trust, sometimes showing a handcuff magic trick. He'd then restrain and assault them, often beginning with forced oral sex. The torture included burning with cigars, making victims imitate horses, and using objects for abuse. Gacy would sometimes drown and revive his victims. Gacy typically strangled his victims with a tourniquet, calling it the rope trick. The murders mostly occurred during 3 to 6 a.m. He stored his bodies under his bed before burying them, using quicklime to hasten decomposition. His first known murder was Timothy McCoy in 1972, and his second victim remains unidentified. Gacy experienced sexual pleasure during the killings. In 1975, Gacy did another horrifying murder of John Butkovich, an 18-year-old employee, after a dispute over back pay. He lured him home, strangled him, and buried him in the garage. Between 1976 and 1978, Gacy's murder spree reached its peak. During his time, he actively sought out young males for his horrifying acts. His neighbors began to notice his strange behavior, including late-night visitors and unsettling noises emanating from his house. Within the walls of Gacy's home, a nightmarish chamber of horrors awaited his victims. He would drug, bind, and subject them to unimaginable torment. Their desperate pleas for mercy went unanswered, as Gacy took perverse pleasure in their suffering. Gacy's harassment. But Gacy's reign of terror couldn't last forever. One day he made a fatal mistake by targeting a young man named Robert Piest, who had a loving family that did not stop searching for him and had unraveled the evil that had remained hidden for so long. The police arrived at Gacy's home, acting on leads that pointed to his involvement in Piest's disappearance. What they discovered beneath the floorboards was a nightmare beyond imagination. Bodies upon bodies, a gruesome testament to the sadistic desires, lay hidden there. Gacy's facade had finally crumbled and revealed the true horrors that had lurked within all along, and finally, Gacy arrested on December 20th, 1978. As we conclude this chilling journey into the twisting double life of John Wayne Gacy, we are reminded of the unimaginable horrors he inflicted upon his victims. Our thoughts and deepest sympathies go out to the victims and their families who endured unspeakable pain and loss. May their memories serve as a stark reminder of the importance of vigilance and compassion in our communities, ensuring that such darkness can never again take root. Thank you for joining us, and may we always strive to stand against the shadows of evil.